opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network. And hello, everybody. Welcome inside Monday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Last full weekend of November. Wow, right? Can't believe it. We are officially 1 month away from Christmas, too. Let that sink in. We are on the 25th. In 1 month on the calendar, we'll be talking about Santa coming in town. I can't believe it. But here we are, Thanksgiving week. We're thankful for all of you that are tuning in today. It's going to be a fun one. Today, we have a full scoreboard to talk about for the first time in a long time, a couple of weeks at least. We have a full scoreboard full of games, full of results to talk about over the weekend. Basketball got their season started on the girls' side. We, of course, had football playoffs to talk about on Friday, so we're going to jump right into the scoreboard on ysnlive.com and get back to the normal functions of Running Point, right? But we also have a coach's corner and a season preview to be featured on today's show. We have Annie Pavlansky, the new head coach over at Boardman for their girls program. Ty Bartell had a chance to talk to her, so we'll have that one featured on today's episode of Running Point as well. So let's start with the scoreboard. Hop into it. Come on. There we go. The YSN scoreboard is presented by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. And it is a great tool for the YSN fans, whether you're at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts. Either way, you don't want to look away from the screen for too long or the action. And the YSN scoreboard is a great way to get live updated scores from your favorite teams across the YSN family. Whether they're your best friends or your heated rivals, there's no way to go to find out what's going on other than the YSN scoreboard. The YSN scoreboard can be found at ysnlive.com/scores. And it is proudly presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tub. Second, and checking out the football playoff scores, we will start with Ursuline. Y'all, I thought this game was going to be really competitive. I thought, Ursuline would be tested. And, the Irish had complete other plans. Gilmore Academy had no shot in this game whatsoever. Ursuline rolls 54-0. Wow. This one, as the scores kept coming in, this one shocked me. I was like, oh, wow. Did not expect complete domination utterly by Ursuline. Just an immaculate performance from the Irish. They're breaking the playoff mold. Things are supposed to get harder as you go further in the playoffs, not easier. This was ridiculous. Joe Balog had a huge day for Ursuline. You can find a post-game interview with him and Coach Reardon on the article attached to ysnlive.com for this game. Just a dominant performance all around by Ursuline. They are rolling into the state semifinals with a lot of momentum. Nothing stopping Ursuline right now. We go into South Range in Poland, and this game was not easy for either team. This was definitely not a dominating performance on either side. The game that we all expected from these two, they know each other, they don't like each other, they want to play each other hard, and it ends up a thriller that South Range pulls out 17-16, the final score. And there are ways that this game went very similar to the first matchup. We see Poland get off to a big lead, right? They're up by 16-7 at halftime. They have this big lead, and the Poland formula for winning is get a lead, playing clean football, and hold on to that lead. That's how their offense is built. They're built to play in front, and everything was looking bright for Poland. But not just like the first matchup, because there were some big mistakes as far as blocked punts that kind of literally handed South Range touchdowns in the first matchup. But in the same sense, Poland had the lead in this one like they did in the first matchup. And what cost them again was playing clean football down the stretch. They just could not get out of their own way almost. I mean, you look at 3 straight drives in the second half for Poland that got into South Range territory that were derailed by holding or penalty calls. You had a missed field goal, and then you had a punt that went about 10 yards. So you just had mistakes, and they're little mistakes in the grand scheme of things. But when you're playing a playoff game against a really good team, those little mistakes get magnified so much, and the cleaner team won. You look at South Range, one turnover, it was kind of a deep throw that got picked off, but it didn't hurt them much. They didn't have too many penalty issues. Their offense wasn't humming, that's for sure. They struggled at times, but a clean football game. They didn't make any detrimental mistakes that really took them out of their game. Poland, unfortunately, did. You look at their offense and the way they're built, they threw the ball maybe 4 times all game. They're not an offense that's built to be behind the chains. Now, I know no offense in the world is saying, we want to be in 2nd and 15 and 3rd and 10, and, we want to be in those situations. We live for it. But there are offenses that are a little bit less worried when those situations pop up. They have a little bit more chances of executing plays to pick up that kind of yardage. And Poland is not that team. There's not a lot of plays in their playbook for 3rd and 15. They're 4th and 11, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have a lot of things to go to. Unless they break one or, there's a missed assignment, they're usually not going to be able to pick those ones up. So when they got themselves into those situations deep in South Range territory, that just hurt them. I mean, you look at that second half, one score in the second half wins this game for Poland, right? You feel like if they took 16-7, and even if they made it 19-7, the way this game was going, that mountain gets even harder for South Range to climb out of, and they wouldn't have been able to do it if everything else went exactly the way it did. 19 wouldn't have been enough, right? So one score in that second half would have done it for Poland. They had 3 drives in that second half. They got into South Range territory. Those were scoring drives. But like I said, penalties really hurt. They missed a field goal. That was a long one. It's a 42-yard field goal, but they still missed it. And the punt, the final punt, it's got to, you have the ball at the 35-yard line. You have to punt, and you're feeling like, hey, we can pin South Range inside the 20 with, a minute to go, whatever it was, a little bit over a minute. They had no timeouts left. It's really tough. But instead, that punt only goes to the 30, and South Range gets to pick it up at the 32-yard line, start their drive from there. And that's just a little bit, every yard counts, a little bit further that they would have had to go if that punt gets executed and you pin South Range down inside the 15, right? So just a few those little things in tight games that the Poland wasn't able to do that were the difference makers. Now we talk about South Range's side. I've been saying all year the South Range is a team that never lets momentum turn, right? Things aren't going well. They never kind of said Poland has all the momentum in the world. We're just going to kind of hang it in, try again next year. They've always been a team that when things go a little bit wrong during a game, they bounce right back. They go right back at it. And once again, this team, they were down 16-7 at halftime. That could have been an easy momentum swinger, right? Poland hits a field goal right into the locker room. That could have turned the pendulum. And it didn't. Poland had a big play to score their touchdown, right? Big running play. I think their first play of the game, first play from scrimmage. Vito Kamara just books one to the end zone. Big plays normally change the course of games, but this South Range team's different. They did not let that play change the momentum at all. They didn't let the halftime deficit change the momentum. They just found a way. Championship mindset, championship coaching staff, championship culture. It found its way through. And I'm not saying that guarantees South Range wins every week. That's not like a guaranteed pin them in for the state championship just because they have a championship culture. But in games like that, it keeps them in it. It gives them chances to win. Tristan Toy played his absolute butt off in this game, especially in the second half. When they needed that 2-minute drive, which I think might be the first time South Range needed a 2-minute drive in the fourth quarter this year, it looked like they've been playing them like they had a 2-minute drive every game. And, Tristan Toy says it, we do it every day in practice, every week in practice, 2-minute drill. I'm sure every team does, but that's still something that I think is noteworthy. Like, hey, that's the first time this team in a game situation, not practice, a game situation, has to be put in this mode where it's score or go home. That's it, right? We have to score or we don't go home. We have to have a touchdown to be able to execute that game plan to perfection and drive down the field. That's impressive. That's impressive. And then the last play, I wish I had the time to cut it up and break it down for you guys, but that touchdown play was just well drawn up. The routes were well executed. Tommy Titus found that little hole in the zone between two people, camped right out on it. The timing was perfect because if Tristan Toy throws that ball a little bit later, then Poland's able to close in on it and probably break it up. But, he finds that little spot in the zone, turns around, ball's right on him, touchdown. That's great timing. That's great rhythm between receiver and quarterback. And it's just remarkable what that team was able to do when most of the game wasn't going the way they wanted it to. In terrible conditions, too. I know both teams had to play in it. But not only do you have to come back from a 9-point deficit, but you have to do it in the freezing cold rain. I will tell you from experience, in my opinion, cold and rain is twice as bad as cold and snow. Because that rain, when it's cold, it hits you. It feels like little bullets just penetrating your skin. It does not feel good at all. So rain with like that 39 degree, 38 degree temperatures, not fun. Not fun at all. I'm sure that played a factor in this game being a little bit lower scoring than the first one. 38-30 the first time around, 17-16 this time around. But of course, the other part of this that goes into the lower scoring factor is it was just a cleaner football game, right? You didn't have a block punt for a touchdown. You didn't have kind of gifts to give the offenses the ball inside the 10-yard line. So it was just a cleaner game, which led to a lower scoring game because both these defenses, if you give them the full length of the field, they're really good. So what a great, just instant classic between the two YSN teams. I think they both would have been great representatives in the state semifinals. Unfortunately, only one can win. We wish they were playing two different teams. We wish they both could be there. But South Range is the one that escapes and gets to win. South Range has not lost to a conference opponent since 2019. That still stands. Although this wouldn't have been a conference game. So that kind of win streak, quote unquote, would have still existed, but it would have had an asterisk on it if Poland would have won this game. But they still haven't lost to an E8 team since 2019 to Niles, so that streak is still alive, and now South Range will go on to play Liberty Center in Parma on Friday in the state semifinals, which means they get to practice on Thanksgiving, and that's something that you earn. So the state semifinals next for South Range. As we move on to the scoreboard, this game was exactly I think when everyone expected it to be a very defensive game between two very good defenses in Glenville and Perry. And the Pirates, they lost in overtime 12-6. A tough one for the Pirates to take. Um, they lost both their games this year in overtime to teams that are in the state semifinal right now. Glenville, obviously, and then Kirtland, who won their way into a state semifinal. So both their losses are in overtime. The teams that are still alive in the Final Four. That's toughness. But Perry will not repeat as state champions. They fall to Glenville, the Tarblooders, 12-6, the final score. And then Hoban, all over Walsh Jesuit, 21-7. The Knights are still alive for their bid to get back to the state championship game again this year. This was a game that everyone was watching, and Hoban used a couple of big turnovers to turn the tide in the game, and they got the win using their defense, a much more defensive team this year than last. And their offense hasn't been as high scoring, but with the defensive performances that they're seeing this year out of Hoban, offenses don't have to be perfect. When you're allowing 7 points in the state semifinal, the regional final, you're doing something right. We go to girls basketball, the season opener. Had a lot of close games. We had, of course, some opening game blowouts, but a lot of good matchups on Friday. And Lakeview going into Howland and getting the win over the Tigers, 61-50. This is Lakeview's first win over Howland, their backyard rivals, since 2017. So a big win for Lakeview as they start the season with a bang. Their three-point shooting was definitely the difference maker in this one as they win 61-50 over the Tigers. A tough way to start the season for Beaver Local. They knew what they were getting into. Union Local, a very strong team. First game of the year, Union Local flexes their muscles 55-11 over Beaver Local. East Liverpool had a tough time against Martins Ferry, 68-28, the final score there. East Liverpool trying to get healthy. They have a couple of players waiting to be cleared that will really make a difference for them when they get back on the floor. Conneaut opened the season with a win over Matthews, 61-33, the final score there. We have Edgewood. They play Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, 57-42. The Lions get the edge. Edgewood playing really tough opponents in this weekend tournament that they were at this year. So they're getting tested early. We'll see a score from them on Saturday's sheet as well. Lakeside, they fall to Wycliffe, 46-30. Salem goes to United. They're all over the Eagles, 54-10. The final score there. Salem's defense is not who I'd want to play in game one. If I was in United's shoes trying to fill the holes of a lot of really good offensive players that graduated last year, I would not want to play that Quaker defense in game one. So United, I think they can persevere from it. And, not every defense is going to be the Quakers' defense. They'll find ways to get better, but that's a tough way to start the season. Good way to start the season if you're a Quakers fan, though. West Branch goes to overtime and gets the win over Norton, 45-41, the comeback win for West Branch. Niles and Liberty getting together. Niles all over the Leopards, 42-10, the final score there. We have Hubbard going to Cardinal Mooney and winning with, not walk-off free throws, but game-winning free throws from senior Killian Palumbo, 52-51, a roller coaster game where both teams had marginal leads at some point in the game, but Hubbard gets the win by one in thrilling fashion. Garfield falls to Rootstown. That's a good Rootstown team, by the way. 65-16, the final score there. A defensive battle between Wyndham and Campbell as Wyndham escapes Campbell with the 4-point win, 23-19, the final score there. In overtime, Columbiana beats Springfield 57-55. The buzzer beater for the Clippers gets them the win. JFK beats East 54-43, the final score there. And then last but not least, on Friday, Grand Valley gets the win over Cardinal 48-38, the final score in that one. We move on to the 23rd, which is, of course, Saturday. We had girls basketball on this day as well. Fitch going to Hudson. They fall to the Explorers 55-40. Boardman falls to Talmadge on the road, 57-47. East Liverpool in action a second time. They fall to Steubenville, 59-31, the final score. Edgewood falls to Mayfield, 58-50. Perry gets their season started. They fall to a very good Gilmore Academy team, 57-44. LeBray falls to Smithville, 51-38, the final score there. Bristol and Lowville doing battle, and the Rockets get the win over the Panthers, 48-39. Southern falls to Sandy Valley, 51-33, the final score there. Hoban gets their season started. They fall to Brush, 46-32. And then Louisville beats Cleveland Heights by 10, 47-37. The final score there. A couple of hockey games happening on Saturday as well. Mayfield beats Canfield 8-7. Orange able to beat Aurora 5-2 in hockey. And then we go to Sunday. We had the one hockey game and then a couple of basketball games. In hockey, Canfield falls to Westlake 5-2. The final score there. And then in girls basketball, Walsh Jesuit beats Ursuline 39-36. Hoban bounces back, gets their first win of the season over Canton McKinley, 57-35, the final score there. So those are the scores from the weekend. And when we get towards the end of the show, we'll come back to the scoreboard and go over the games that are happening tonight in girls basketball, as well as a lot of seasons starting tonight, as I think most everyone will be underway by the end of the week for sure. But tonight is going to be a lot of season openers for a lot of teams. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have the Coach's Corner and season preview from Annie Pavlansky, and then we will go into the scoreboard to close out the show. That's all coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you, and we are going to go into our season preview Coach's Corner section of the show, where we feature a Coach's Corner from Boardman. Ty Bartell had a chance to catch up with their new girls coach, Annie Pavlansky, to talk about their season and what the expectations are for the Spartans this year. So here is that Coach's Corner for you here on Running Point today. We hope you enjoy it.
What's up, everybody? Ty Bartellin with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we head to our friends over in Spartan Country, home of the Boardman Spartans girls basketball program. And it's Coach Andy Pavlansky joining me today. Coach, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great myself as well. It's scrimmage season. It's practice season right now for girls and boys basketball alike. We're talking about this team a year ago. They were really, really solid. And I mean, you talk about a program that started reaching new heights that it hadn't seen in some time. What are you looking at this year? What's standing out to you from the head coaching position?
Yeah, we're really, really proud of how everything went last year and the year that we had. And we know that we have big shoes to fill. We are looking to hopefully do the same thing again, but just continue to play hard, play together. And I think the leadership last year from the seniors, from the coaches, really set a great, great example for us to try and follow and hopefully do the same thing again this year. But the biggest thing is just having fun playing basketball together and getting better every single day.
That Pavlansky name is in multiple sports. You hear it up and down in all levels. What made Boardman feel like the right fit for you to bring your talents here and to try to lead the Spartans group to some more success?
Boardman's a really, really special place. Really, from my very first interview as just a teacher here, I could just sense that it was a very, very tight-knit community. Despite how big the district is, it doesn't feel that way. It feels very tight-knit. I have felt supported as a teacher, as a coach from day one. So it really wasn't a tough decision for me to reach to want to try and pursue this head coaching job. And I'm really, really excited to be part of it. And I'm honored to have been chosen.
Let's show some spotlight to the girls we're going to be seeing on the hardwood this season too. Some big names that are going to be getting big minutes for the Spartans.
Yeah, we have some letter winners returning this year. We have seniors Sarah Barrow, Ava Freeborough, and Tori Strines. And then another letter winner from last year is Michaela Rivera as well. And we have some juniors coming in too that played some JV, some varsity last year that are going to be looking to get some more minutes. But we're really excited about the group we have coming back. We're, I think, a good mix of returning experience, but also some younger players. So we're really excited about that.
So when we look at all that, what would you say some of the strengths of this team's going to be that you're going to have to rely on to get your wins? What would you say kind of the team identity is going to be this year?
I would say that our team identity is going to be toughness and playing hard every single play. I think that's been our identity the last few years as well, especially last year. And we're going to be looking to do the same thing again. Like I said, the seniors, the coaching staff from last year, can't say enough good things about them and the examples that they displayed. And I think the biggest thing with them was their toughness and their togetherness. And we're looking to make that our identity this year again too.
There's no doubt the toughness is going to be needed when you go into the All-American Conference. It's one of the tougher basketball conferences in the area. Though it is small, it is mighty too, with the other 4 teams that are also along the Spartans in the conference play. Looking at the conference too, I feel like it's wide open on both the boys and the girls side. I'm sure a lot of the coaches feel the same way. How are you guys talking about it? How do you guys feel you fit in the conference this year?
Yeah, the conference we know is going to be incredibly, incredibly competitive again this year. We know that we have a giant target on our back this year after winning the conference last year. So it's just, we have to go back to the basics and treat every single day like it's game day against a Campfield, a Fitch, a Howland, Harding, whoever it might be, because we know that any game, it could be anybody's game for every game in the conference. So we just have to go back to the basics and continue to trust the things that we've been trying to implement every day in practice here.
I know you don't want to look too far ahead. It's a one game at a time mentality, but what are some of the games non-conference wise that kind of excite you this season for the girls to be tested against?
Yeah, we have a great non-conference schedule as well. A lot of great teams. Some of the ones just up a Crestview, see how we match up against a really great team there. And also West Branch, and that comes early on in the non-conference. So we're going to find out real quick what we're made of.
So when we look at this Boardman community, we know that they go out and they support big time too for their teams. What's that like, and what's the community support been like for you now at that head coaching role too, settled into your first year here at Boardman?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I can't say enough good things about the community, the support staff between administrators, athletic directors, the community itself, superintendent, board, everyone. I've felt nothing but support the entire time, and that really just has made my job a whole lot easier. And I know our girls feel that support as well. And with that just comes a great sense of pride being a Boardman Spartan.
So when we're talking short-term goals, say from like now until game 1, and then we talk long-term goals, say from like now until game 22, what would you say some of the short-term goals and the long-term goals are for the Spartans right now?
You know, something we've just been stressing to our players as a coaching staff is just to try and get better at something every single day. Keep things very small, working through things one day at a time, and making sure that as soon as we set foot to start practice, that by the time practice is over, we've become better at something that day. So just getting better every day, taking things one day at a time, never getting too high, too excited about anything, or too low, and just continue to try to get better. As far as long-term goals go, I would say that our goal again should be to compete in the AAC and win the league again. I think we should dream big, and just continue to go after that goal every single day, game in and game out.
Like I've said before, that Pavlansky name is up and down all over in the world of sports too. We hear it up and down all over the community in the world of coaching. What made you decide to be a coach, though, in particular? What was the selling point for you that made you decide you wanted to do this?
I think it's a very, very rewarding job. Like you said, a lot of family members that are teachers and coaches, and I see coaches as teachers as well. And our job is to teach the kids as best as we can. And I was fortunate, obviously, to have both my parents being coaches. I experienced that as a kid. And like I said, it's a really rewarding feeling to see kids get better. And I'm really excited that I feel like I have a lot of experience to offer, a lot of support to offer our girls, because I have been in their shoes before, and I've been a high school basketball player, I've been a college basketball player. So to be able to offer that kind of advice and hopefully make them better, one step at a time, one day at a time, that's a really, really rewarding feeling when you can help them reach their goals.
If you could go back to high school, Annie Pavlansky, what's some things you would maybe do differently with the knowledge you have now?
Oh, that's a good question. I would go back to playing high school basketball today if I could. I would say just not to ever take any day, any practice for granted, because this sounds very cliche, but the time goes so fast. And there's going to be a day where you won't wear that jersey again and you won't be playing with that group of girls. So just always to keep that in the back of your mind. And I think that can serve as really great motivation.
When we talk about your team, we also need to talk about the coaching staff that you surround yourself with and that are going to be helping you continue to build this program and continue to set those standards. Who are some of the big names in this Spartans program and that you feel need some love and some spotlight?
Oh, there's several, so I could go on and on. But as far as our coaching staff at the high school level, we have Lauren Pavlansky, who is a teacher at South Range. She's helping me as a varsity assistant. Erica DeFrancisco is a new name in the Boardman community as well. She's a teacher in Boardman, and she's going to be coaching our JV team this year. Lauren Gabriel, she's been helping out years past. She's a familiar face, again, to a lot of these girls, a Boardman grad, as well as Lauren Pavlansky. I think that's really important to have Boardman alumni. And then last but not least is Maddie Alba. She played basketball at YSU, was a point guard. She's helping us out as well. So again, I'm really, really excited about the energy that we have, the knowledge that we can bring to these girls, and the support that we can show, because every single one of us on the coaching staff have been in their shoes as multi-sport student athletes. So we're really excited to get to be with the girls every day and help them get better.
Yeah, I mean, they might not be familiar to the Boardman community, but DeFrancisco's I know pretty well, and they're in the coaching world a lot. They're a lot in the athletic world, and yeah, she definitely is a big one as well. I love that your coaching staff has a lot of former girls basketball players too, and I mean, it's not a knock on the guys in the sport world. I know a lot of really good guy coaches, male coaches in girls basketball, no doubt, but I feel like just having that connection of so many girls and so many that has to help kind of bridge that gap. And there's got to be more, I feel like a little bit better, clearer understanding when you have players or coaches that used to be players coaching players.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, it's those like the experience that we bring and the knowledge that we bring that we have been in their shoes. And hopefully we can serve as great role models to them and show them that if they work hard, they can do anything they want, whether it's a goal on the basketball court, off the basketball court, whatever it might be. But just to really be that support system for the girls and be those role models as well.
One of my theme questions for a lot of the coaches this year has been the lessons the game teaches. You talk about being a teacher. You talk about being a coach, and coaches being teachers. You've taught, you teach young ladies the sport, and you teach many young ladies in the sport of basketball how to relate it to life as well. But I want to know what the biggest lesson the sport of basketball has taught you throughout your entire career in it.
Yeah, just thinking back on my career as well, we always say basketball is a long season. I have been playing basketball since I was 5 years old and played up until I was 23. So it was a long time. And I would say playing basketball at every level tested me a lot. It tested not just my physical toughness, but even more so my mental toughness. And there were some times where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. But with the support of my coaches, with the support of my teammates, especially, and my family, looking back, I'm like, wow, I can say that I battled through a lot of those points of adversity and some of those hardships. So now at this point, I feel like I could really handle anything. And that gives me a lot of confidence knowing that I got through some of those really tough times where it didn't look like I was going to make it through. But I did. And that, like I said, it helps me give me a lot of confidence moving forward.
What's that Elton John song there, that I'm Still Standing, right?
Yeah.
Too. They're all of it, right? Coach, one of my final questions for you. Thanksgiving and high school basketball correlate to me because the tip-offs are always right around Thanksgiving time. So I want you to shout out the opening tip-off for you, first game of the season. Tell the Boardman community why they need to support this team this year, but also shout out your favorite Thanksgiving Day dish.
Oh, okay. So our first game is going to be Saturday, November 23rd at Talmadge. It's an afternoon game. And we're looking to win the AAC again this year and compete like crazy. Our toughness, our togetherness isn't going away. We're really, really excited to be wearing that Boardman Spartan jersey every day. I know that every single one of our girls have a great sense of pride. I think our seniors this year are going to be just as much leaders as our seniors were last year. And no doubt we're going to play hard. We're going to play together. And as far as my favorite Thanksgiving dish, I would say I really love cheesy potatoes. Really love cheesy potatoes.
All right, getting some love to the potato realm too. We've gotten a lot of potato themed, I think, dishes that are getting love too. It's all about every family's different how they kind of slice it and dice it up too, but it's always something potato themed that's popular as well. Coach, I'm excited to see what this team looks like this year too. I know you guys are going to be competing like crazy, like you said, for that top spot in the AAC, and I know there's going to be a lot of teams vying for it, but I can expect to see you guys right near the top. I'm excited to see what you're able to do with the Boardman culture and the standards you're able to set there as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're excited.
We're excited as well. This has been a first edition of Coach's Corner with Annie Pavlansky from the Boardman Spartans girls basketball team.
And that was Andy Pavlansky from Boardman Girls Basketball giving the season preview with Ty Bartell. They already have one game under their belt, a road trip to Talmadge with a 10-point loss, but they have a lot to look forward to this year and a lot of talent on that basketball team, returning as AAC reigning champions, trying to protect that this year. We will follow the Spartans all year. We can't wait to see them out there, and we want to thank Amy Pavlansky for her time and also thank Ty Bartel for his time getting that interview for us. Now, we're going to go back into the scoreboard on ysnlive.com and preview the night that is to be tonight on the network. Girls basketball will be back in action tonight, and if you are new to the scoreboard, the date toggle is down here at the bottom, so you just go to the date that you want, which we want the 25th, which is onto the far left. So here's how tonight will shape up in girls basketball. We have Boardman back in action going on the road to Marlington tonight. That's a 7 o'clock start. Orange goes to Cleveland Tech, 5:30 varsity start time for that one. Girard will be playing at Columbiana tonight. That should be a really fun matchup. Columbiana testing themselves early against very good opponents. And Girard is a team that really went toe-to-toe with Poland last year and almost was able to knock Poland off of the NE8 pedestal. They weren't able to do that, but it's a team that's very comparable to Poland and a very good basketball team that that Columbiana is going to be hosting tonight. East Palestine opens up their season traveling to Matthews. We have Newton Falls hosting Latonia. Southern going to Heartland Christian. South Range opens up their season as they travel to United. Lakeview and Champion playing each other. Lakeview continues their Warren area school trip as they will go from beating Howland over the weekend to now playing at Champion. We have Niles going to LeBray tonight. McDonald goes to Liberty. We have Jackson Milton. They'll be hosting Shocker. Middle Ridge traveling to Maplewood. Pymatuning Valley will be hosting Berkshire. Wyndham hosting Cardinal. We have Hubbard going on the road east, so they're going to another Steel Valley Conference opponent. And then Cheney will be going to Poland. That'll be a 6:15 varsity start time, 2 quarters of JV for that one. Let's get you the announcers and who will be where tonight for girls basketball. Tonight we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games on the network as Jackson, Milton, and Shocker will be called by Ty Bartel and Angelina Capabianca on the call tonight. I will be in Poland for their matchup with Cheney. Eric Hughes has you covered for Hubbard at East. Lakeview and Champion will be covered by Dakota Kotzel. Matt Marr will be at LeBray for their matchup with Niles. Mark Franken will have you covered for Heartland Christian and Southern Local. And then Don Pearson will have you covered for Girard at Columbiana. So all those games on the network tonight. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find them. That will do it for today's episode of Running Point. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. And we will be right back at it tomorrow to recap all those scores that we just saw and talk about the night that will be on tomorrow's action of Running Point. Also tomorrow, we'll have more season previews and coaches' corners coming at you as well. So don't miss it. Tomorrow at 1 to 2, I should say. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. As always, thank you again for tuning in. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow at 1 o'clock.